How's it going, everyone? Larry at the Farmstead Way, and it's been a hot second. I've been absolutely crazy busy the last 2 weeks. I've been doing factory work for my next door neighbor. So we are working at a plastic extrusion plant, and we had to break down one of the machines that makes the plastic. It's a big old center die with a bunch of plastic extruders, and we had to tear down each layer, and it took us like 10 total days working to complete the job. And that was waking up at 4:30 in the morning, 2-hour drive to the factory, 8 hours on site, 2-hour drive home, get to see the kids and eat dinner. You get 3 hours to bed, then wake up and you do the same thing over again. And it was absolutely brutal. But it paid very, very well. So it's kind of one of those nice lessons on sometimes you got to put your nose to the grindstone to make things happen for your family. And something I want to talk about that I got to experience this week, that's because there were some new guys on the job, is I want to give advice to the new kids on the job site. If you are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, younger, and you're the youngest guy on the construction crew, on the maintenance crew, just in the trade field in general, I want to give you some advice that's going to save you from getting your butt chewed out and look like an idiot in front of everybody. Because it's really easy to do. A lot of these younger kids don't have a certain maturity level, or they are not used to being around people that are not their parents, their peers, and they don't give a crap about your feelings. They're going to tell you how it is, and you're going to get your butt ripped a couple of times. But what I want to try to help you is to not be the, oh God, here comes so-and-so. I want to be like, hey, here comes the new kid. He's dependable. One of the first things is be professional, be on time, and be quiet. There's nothing worse than the new guy that is immature, that is not on time, that is late for everything, and runs his mouth constantly. That is one of the worst things that you can do. It seems better for a new guy on the job site to be seen rather than heard. No one cares, at least when you're first starting off, what you've done in the past, all the things that oh, I went to this and I can do this. No one cares at all. You have to prove yourself where you're at when you're doing it. They don't care about your previous job experience. They care about the job experience that you're going to get while you're with that crew. That's all they care about. Because no one likes egos on the job site. Because the worst thing that you can do is go in there and run your mouth about all the stuff that you've done. And if you're not professional and you're not on time, no one gives a crap about your skills anyway. So just make sure you're on time. Make sure that you don't swear every other word, that you got your uniform clean, that you're clean yourself, that you shower, you brush your teeth, you've got good boots on, you got good tools with you. At least if you're starting off, just do the best you have with what you have. Make sure you're either on time or you're at least 10 minutes early. No one wants to have to be waiting on you for the job site. One of the great pieces of advice that Pat McNamara gave me when I first started off working at the fire station, he said, shut your mouth and open your ears. Do not be talking every 5 seconds. You need to be quiet and listen to what the older gentlemen on the job site have to tell you. Because if you're not moldable and you're not teachable, no one's going to want to be around you. And if you're constantly mouthy, people are just going to talk about you constantly behind your back. And then every time you show up on the job site, people are going to moan and groan and they won't want to work with you. Here's another thing, and this is a pet peeve of mine. Don't talk about time on the job site. Do not talk about time, especially how much time you have left to go on your shift. Because no one wants to be like, look at your clock and be like, we have to be here for another 3.5 hours, or it's, we got 2 more hours till lunch. You're just going to tick people off because you got to realize that some of these guys have been there for like 20 years. and they know the grind. They know how long it's going to take to do certain things. They don't want to hear it. They would want to be at home just as much as you do. And you constantly complaining about how much longer you have left on your shift is just going to tick everybody off. A piece of advice that helped me is develop a sense of urgency. And I know that's not easy to do because sometimes you're working for someone and you don't have a lot of personal interest vested in the situation. So why would you give a crap if something gets done on time? But develop a sense of urgency. Look at your clock, look at your watch, and instead of saying, oh man, we've got 4 more hours to go till we get to clock out, think to yourself, we've only got 4 more hours until we are done for the day. We have got to get moving. That on this past job, and I had to think to myself, it's like, we would just get back from lunch and we'd start working. We leave at 3:30 and we look at 1:30, and I would just think to myself, we've only got 2 hours to get this stuff done. We have got to get moving. And then every time that clock ticks a little bit more, you kind of kick into overdrive. And especially if you're self-employed, that means a lot more to you because it's your time. And normally when you're self-employed, you get to go home when the job's done. So the more efficiently, the faster you work, the shorter your workday is. And it just shows that you're taking your job seriously. Instead of just piddling around, it shows your boss that you actually care about what you're doing. Instead of just being like mopey dopey, I want to go home, I want to be done. And it helps to motivate the crew. If you're with the crew and the boss is with you and you look at your watch and you're like, oh no. And like, what? It's 1 o'clock. We're supposed to be out of here at 3:30. We got to get moving because we're not going to get our tasks done for the day if we don't. Okay, guys, let's get it going. That's a better mindset, and it gets people more fired up. Looking through my notes. Show your skills by your actions and not by your mouth. That's another big thing, is everyone wants to talk big game on it. Normally on the job site, it's better if you're the quietest dude on the job site. If you're doing something and you know how to do it well, just show them that you can do it well with your hands instead of talking about how well you can do it. Or, if someone gives you a task and you're not doing it right, and someone shows you how to do it right, just keep your head, or just nod your head, keep your mouth shut, and do it the way they tell you to. So, like, for instance, this past week, I've never used a torque wrench. I've never had to use a torque wrench. I probably should on some of the automotive stuff I have, but with the experience that I have, there's no reason for me to use torque wrenches. And we were using like 4.5 foot torque wrenches on this die, and I wasn't using it correctly. So one of the guys on our crew, he yelled at me and said, get your hand off the end of the bar and don't jerk on it. And I looked at him and I did it exactly as he said. And I shook my head and I took in, and I was showing him that I respected what he was saying. And I took in what he was saying. I nodded my head respectfully like I'm learning and did it correctly. And guess what? When I did it correctly, he said, there you go, good job. Now you're reliable, you're dependable. I didn't get all butthurt and pissed off because someone's trying to tell me how to do something simple. They're trying to make sure that things get done right. And if you bellyache, complain, or backtalk when anyone tries to correct you, you're going to tick someone off. Once again, you're not moldable. No one's going to want to be around you. And for God's sakes, just be mature. You need to be able to read a room, develop a social sense of awareness on what's okay to say around certain people and what's not. If you're making random offhanded offensive jokes, you might tick someone off because not everyone has the same viewpoints as you do. If you're around someone that's got more of a liberal mindset, you don't need to go running your mouth about your political views. It's okay to have your political views. Put your 2 cents in and just make sure it's not 2 cents and not $20, because you can go on giant rants and tick people off. One of the greatest things that I kind of convinced myself of is you don't have to convince someone else of your truth for your truth to be validated. You can let people believe whatever they want, just be like, Hopefully the wind's not too horrendous on this. Dang heckin' chickens. Anyway, be respectful, be mature. If someone gets offended by a joke, don't make it all the time and take them off. You gotta spend so much time with these people. Last thing you want to do is run your mouth and make them mad. And the last piece of advice that I can give you is you can be a leader without being in charge. And you can mainly do that with your attitude. You can be a leader without being the boss. You can be someone that the crew looks up to. It doesn't matter how young you are. If you're showing hustle, if you're showing drive, if you're being respectful, if you're putting your nose to the grindstone and you are getting it done, people will look up to you. It doesn't matter how old you are. Now, I know there's instances where if the young kid's showing too much hustle, then the boss is going to expect that kind of hustle out of the rest of the crew and they get ticked off. So sometimes it means you might have to throttle it back. A little side maneuver, just be subtle about things. You really got to be aware of everyone. That's one thing that people do not have a good skill nowadays, is being situationally aware of those around you, the tone of your voice, the words that you pick. And that's going to determine whether or not people want to be around you and look up to you, or if they're going to avoid you and complain every time they got to pick you up for the job site. Or when they see your vehicle roll up, they'll be like, oh crap, here's Bob, Joe Schmo, whatever. So just remember, you may not have to be the head honcho, but you can be a leader by your attitude and by your actions. Your age doesn't mean nothing. Your skills don't mean nothing. Your willingness to learn and your willingness to be moldable is what's important. And this is my last piece of advice, and it's more of a forewarning. You are going to get yelled at. You are going to get chewed out. Someone's going to get ticked off at you. That kind of stuff doesn't mean nothing until the head honcho on the job site, the foreman, the boss says, just go home, we don't need you. It's not going to be a giant yelling, screaming match. He'll just nicely come to you and be like, you can go home. We don't need you. Just go home. Now, you'll be moving stuff. You might accidentally bump into someone. You might get the wrong tool, and they might say something off. They might say something really mean. They might say something kind of underhanded that's going to get under your skin. But as long as the boss says, you going to be here tomorrow? Yes, sir. That's all that matters. If they don't like you, they're going to ask you to leave. They're just going to kick you off the crew. There's not going to be no giant blow up because the head person in charge doesn't care. You can go home. So be prepared for that. The very first day that I was a firefighter EMT, I got pulled into the office and asked if I wanted to have union representation for 2 mistakes that I made that I didn't even know I made. Did I get fired? No. Did it royally tick me off? Absolutely. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm the new guy. But I didn't get fired. You're going to have confrontations, and you have to be able to take those confrontations. You have to be mature enough and set your ego aside and say, yes, sir, sorry, sir, I won't do it again. Do not go running your mouth and do not arguing and do not try to get into a fight with your boss, because your reputation when you're doing this kind of work is all you have. And if everyone knows you as the loudmouth jerk that is going to fight everybody because they cannot shut up for 2 seconds and listen to a little bit of correction, no one's going to want to work for you. You got to have thick skin, and you've got to be willing to take some heat. Now, there comes a point in time where you got to draw the line and be like, this isn't worth it. you're not trying to make me better. You're just being a jerk. I'm done. I'll go find a different crew. I had to do that with the fire station. I got bullied pretty much. And I was like, I don't need this. I like what I was doing at my other job anyway. And I quit. So I'm going to finish this pipe, enjoy the rest of this beautiful evening. Finally here in Ohio, the weather decided to break and it's not freezing cold outside. So I'm going to get some stuff done. We got some cool videos in the pipeline. We're going to be doing some more homesteading stuff here now that the weather is starting to break a little bit. The local greenhouses are about to start opening up, so we're going to be doing some gardening stuff. We're going to be doing some tree tapping videos on some black walnut trees that we have, and some other fun stuff. So if there's any content that you guys would like to see or anything that you'd like me to expound upon, leave a comment below. Thank you so much for all you for subscribing, and thank you for joining me on the Farmstead Way. You all take it easy.